Hello, Horn Camp enthusiasts and horn enthusiasts in general. I am Jesse McCormick. I'm the Associate Artistic Director of Kendall Betts Horn Camp, and I'm also the second horn in the Cleveland Orchestra and the lecturer of horn at Baltimore University. I have the pleasure today of introducing another one of our esteemed faculty members from Kendall Betts Horn Camp, Mr. Jeff Agrell. Welcome, Jeff.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, glad to have you. So we are doing a series of podcasts to help current and potential participants of Horn Camp get to know us a little better, all of us. So can you start out by telling us a little bit about your career and your position and what you do in the horn world?
Oh my, that's a real short topic. Let's see. Well, my career started about 300 years ago, I think. Geological measure of time way back. I didn't know what I was going to do for a long time. I came to it kind of late. I liked music. I liked science. Didn't know what to do. And after much hemming and hawing and this and that, I finally buckled down and didn't do anything else for a very long time, kind of 24/7, and got lucky, worked hard. I was from Minnesota. I went to St. Olaf College and I got a master's at the University of Wisconsin-Madison with Doug Hill. And then I went to Europe and went to this magic school in Montreux, Switzerland, where everything was paid for except your noon meal and the flight over. That led to getting a job in the orchestra in Lucerne, Switzerland. It's like a lot of orchestras over there. It's about half opera orchestra and half everything else. You do kind of everything. You do concerts, ballet, masses, chamber music, do pretty much everything. You work a lot, and it was very exciting. And it was kind of a long visit. I was over there 25 years, and one thing led to another. Another long story, boiled down very short, was I got the chance to come back to the States in 2000 and teach at the University of Iowa. And that has been just wonderful ever since. I've just absolutely loved teaching, love every minute of it. And I've gotten to do a lot of other things other than I did in the orchestra. In the orchestra, as you know, you're really busy. You play 3, 6, or more hours a day, and you're very busy. In teaching, you do all kinds of stuff. And so one thing that happened to me, I think, when I started teaching was I had to rethink everything, because I was pretty bored with horn playing, because I'd been doing the same damn thing over and over and over and over and over, all those years without much input of much thought or anything else. And it was time to refresh my act a little in it. So I did two things. Maybe I started thinking about how this whole business of horn playing works. I never really thought about it before. Just do what you've been told, do what the books say, and I kind of took it apart and put it back together again, brick by brick, and I found out a whole lot of stuff that I hadn't known before, and that has been set down in a book not too long ago. And the other thing I did was something that was to do something creative with the horn, which I had never done much of before, because I played guitar. I played folk guitar, classical guitar, jazz guitar, and that's where I did all my improv. And that's where I learned composing, really, was from jazz guitar. But I never did it on the horn. It just didn't really seem like that was something I did on the horn. But then I decided to try to combine the two, but I didn't want to be a jazz horn player. That really wasn't me. And so I got together with a pianist, and we started figuring out how we could make our own music spontaneously. And it took a little while, but we were both composers, and we came up with something that it came out of the classical tradition, really. And so we started after about a year to give concerts and workshops, and we made 4 CDs, and so it was this whole other area opened up. So it's been a very wonderful ride teaching. I love the teaching part. We do what everybody else does, the solos, excerpts, and etudes all the time, but we also add to it what you might say a creative approach to a lot of it as we go along.
Wow, that's interesting. That explains some of what I was going to ask you. I have seen you present at camp over the years a lot on improv, and I know you mentioned a little bit earlier, I know that you've written some books about it that are really interesting. And I have always been fascinated with the way that you present improv, because in my mind, improv has always been this like daunting thing that I couldn't possibly even think about trying. And what I have learned from you at camp very quickly and over the years is that it doesn't have to be difficult, and it doesn't have to be complicated, and that you can start pretty simply and see where things lead you, and before you know it, you're improving. That's one that describes some of the magical moments I've seen with you at camp. And so how do you start getting into that?
Well, well, when I first started, I was absolutely terrified. I was this much terrified and this much interested to try something new. So that kind of won out, and it was trial and error. I did lots of error, but what I found was that there's not just one level of improv. The old problem is we're all sabotaged by definitions. Everybody thinks improv is jazz, jazz is bebop, bebop is quarter note equals 220 a minute, equals never going to happen. But if we change the definition, and all that means is you get to decide what note you play, and the way you can apply that is do anything you do every day and change one thing. Because the first rule of improv is stay very comfortable and safe. Stay with what you know, except change one little thing. And then that's not so hard. You say, okay, I'm going to play my scales are running a little bit faster today, or a little slower, or I'm going to add all different rhythms. They don't have to be the same note value, or I'm going to add rests, or let's change the articulation, or let's do it in triple meter instead of duple. And pretty soon you see A, that it's pretty easy, and B, it's a lot of fun, and C, why haven't we been doing this forever? Because it stretches you in new directions, and it's interesting, just trying stuff, discovering new things. I try to do something different every day. When I warm up with my students, we do both overtone and valve things. We have a repertoire of things that we can call on, but I say, all right, let's make up something new. You do one, you start, and then I'll join in, and then I'll start and you join in. And if you start with staying really safe, whole notes are fine. Double whole notes are great. You just decide something that feels easy, not scary, and then you try something else, and pretty soon, by George, there you are. You're creating new music. So that's what I'm trying to get everybody to do, is just try something, anything, and see what you come out with. Because for instance, we all have speaking voices. But if we were never able to speak and only recite famous speeches, we're not adding much new to the world. I mean, maybe we're really good at oration. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary. I mean, maybe I could do that really well, but maybe I just want to say, pass the salt. And if you let everyone have a voice, oh my goodness, all the amazing music that is just waiting to be come forth from everyone. But the schools don't either teach, encourage, or train us to do any of that. And it should be part of it. It was part of it all through history until the 19th century, and it fell away then. And now it's starting to come back. So I'm encouraged about that.
Wow, that's really cool. It's interesting to hear you explain that. I admittedly, from my background, it was not part of my.
Not part of mine or anybody else's either.
Yeah, and I grew up in this world of classical music that was like, oh, hey, can you play this? Blah blah blah. Well, do you have the music? Oh no, I don't. Well, then I can't.
Yeah, right.
Like, yeah, show me all the little black dots on a piece of paper and I can do that. But other than that, I'm a useless musician. And since then, I've grown a little bit. I've moved from my whole note improv to definitely half notes, and I can throw in chords every once in a while. But no, I love that idea. Even just picking a song and buzzing it on the mouthpiece or making one up or something like that.
Yeah, for instance, that's great. Yeah.
Start. So that's really cool. So you have been on faculty at Horn Camp for how long now?
Let's see. I'm not terrible at math, but might be 14 years. I'm not sure.
Wow.
I think it was 2005 was my first year.
And how did you get involved with camp? How did that start for you?
Doug Hill recommended me to Kendall, and because I didn't know Kendall. Most people who come in, either students or faculty, knew Kendall or have some connection. I did not know him, although I'm from Minnesota, but when I was back there, Bob Elworthy was the first horn in Minnesota. And then I left, and then Kendall came in after I had left the state and left the country. So I never did meet him. And then I was gone for, a long time. So I did not know him. And the first time I met him was the first day of camp in 2005.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. And it was all downhill from there.
Well,
no.
I do things a little differently than the way Kendall did it. His, as you know, as everyone knows, his main religion is Koprash, and I've always been the kind of un-Koprash in camp. I think Koprash is great, but my feeling is that if you look around at what people wear and eat and what electricity does and how they get around, a few things have changed since 1830. And so I think that might not be a bad idea to do a few things other than what we did in 1830 today as well. Koprash for sure, and that's why blatant plug alert. I've started a Millennium Koprash series, which is, the irony is very rich here. I'm not sure Kendall would have approved or not, but I've taken the old Koprash and millenniumanized it in some way, updated it, and it's eventually going to be about 10 books. There's 4 out now: Harmony Koprash, Rhythm Koprash, Duet Koprash, and what's the other one? There's one more. Rhythm, harmony, duet. Oh man.
Memory Koprash?
Yeah, memory Koprash. Yeah. Preparatory Koprash.
There we go.
Because and the first ones were because Koprash is very boring and limited in rhythms and in keys and scale types. So I just used a lot of different scale types in the harmony one. And then the rhythm one, I took the same notes, but I gave it all wildly different, more complicated rhythms. So it's half familiar to people. The harmony Koprash has all the same rhythms, but all different notes, much more complex. And the Koprash is actually not all that easy. So I made a preparatory Koprash so that beginners, somebody who's played horn for about a year or so, could start playing the same things that are in the Koprash etudes, but on a much easier level. It's much not as the range is much less. They're shorter, so they can get the same vitamins as Koprash much earlier than they could if they tried to get through the original volume. So anyway, that's my love-hate relationship with Kopfrosch. Like I said, it's the irony is rich that I'm the one who's coming out with this. But
well, that's also interesting, and it makes me want to attend one of your morning sessions at camp because I want to know more about it. That's one of the great things about camp that previous campers will immediately know what I'm talking about is that, with our wide variety of faculty and everyone's background, that's what makes the camp so valuable, in my opinion, is that we have
absolutely
so many different perspectives, and
exactly.
We think that really adds to the overall big picture of what people are hopefully getting out of camp. So I think that's fantastic.
Absolutely. Yep.
So and now your wife, Sherry, is the collaborative pianist that she's graciously returned to camp the last couple of years. So you've had a spouse at camp as well. How's that gone for you?
What's that?
How has that gone for you?
Perfectly well, because I never see her.
Oh.
She works longer and harder than anybody in camp because everybody has one solo. She has everybody's solos, and she just basically works around the clock. So when camp is all over after a few weeks, I say, "Well, how was it?" It's not quite that bad, but she's very busy. So I actually do not see her very much. Maybe at meal times, maybe not even then. She's really.
Excuse me. Sorry, 1 second. Cat issues.
Oh, great cat.
Okay. I had a minor cat mishap, but all is fine. It only cost him a life. So, all right, we're back. What would you say is a memorable interaction that you've had with someone at camp?
Oh boy, that is it's hard to be specific. I think I've had so many wonderful times in my sessions, my morning sessions, and the improv sessions. It's hard to pick out one. I've had some great time doing all kinds of different improv over the years. We also we play lots of games as well, and sometimes those are the most fun. We did a game where see how many different ways you can play Mary Had a Little Lamb, and everything counted. I think we were somewhere between 60 and 70 different variations on it.
Really?
Yeah, and the camp is so great because you have so many people from everywhere, and everybody has great stories and interesting lives, and it's just so much fun to meet everybody. The students are wonderful. I just really enjoy the students. If there's one memory that stands out maybe above all the rest, and there's just so many I can't count it, might have been working with participant Kathy Enright. Do you remember Kathy?
Yeah.
Because she's an American, now going to Harvard, but she and her dad, Michael Enright, is here just about every year. Kathy's studied South Indian dance for 8 years, and she's an expert. And when I found out she could do that, we did an improv. I just improvised some raga sounding things, and she made up something. And I thought that was just spectacular what she did. I'm very happy being her backup band. It was because where else do you go to see South Indian dance? I mean, it's something we don't know, but it's incredible. And then I had another crazy idea the next year, and that was to do what was that? It was something with getting the audience involved, and she directed them to. It was like exercises. I can't remember. I have a terrible memory. But she was amazing again. But I like to find out what students can do and use them whenever possible in some of the crazy stuff I do in the performances. I've also done sound painting, which is a gestural system of improvisation or composition in groups, whole group, long note, play. I might do that again this year. Might be
That's
fun.
actually what Kathy Enright was doing. You had taught her a little bit of how to control the group and get certain effects, and she took
Yeah,
it.
that may be. I can't remember exactly because I was busy making up something to go along with what she was doing. So I actually didn't see what she was doing. I didn't look at her. But and usually the students, at least the younger ones, have great attitudes and they'll try stuff and see what happens. Um, some of the older folks are less interested in doing that, so we do less of that. But there are still other things that we can do at any age. I have a lot of different ways of doing things, of experiencing the same thing, like I said, ways of doing scales. And they're just sometimes involves making different choices or getting people involved, because there's a lot of things you can do in technique, for instance, that we don't do on our own. We just practice by ourselves, but you can do all kinds of things with other people. There's scale games and arpeggio games and oral games, ear training things. I like to have fun playing the horn. I like to do the same things, but do it in a way that is more playful in a way. I know we're not supposed to have fun doing music. Music is serious. No having fun. I understand that. But, we close the doors and we don't let anyone see us having fun. So, yeah, sorry, I'm getting a little
No,
sarcastic in my
that's
old
great.
age. And I mentioned the food. That count as a memory?
Oh, it's been mentioned in almost every interview we've done.
I plan on gaining 5 pounds a week. It's just part of the experience. The food is always fantastic.
Huh.
I stopped fighting it anymore. I'm trying to work it off, but I think I'm about up to 2009 right now, and working it off.
I was going to ask you what you were looking forward to for this year's camp, but that pretty much answers it.
Yep, I just look forward to going back and doing the same thing again. I try to do something different every year, not just do exactly the same thing, but I try to bring handouts, give people a lot of handouts to take home and work on over the years. But I just can't wait to see you guys, catch up on what everybody's been doing and learn from everybody else and trade stories and just basically tank up on inspiration and information. And I get lots and lots out of that, just being in that environment with lots of wonderful people.
Yeah. Horn Camp Family Reunion 2019.
Pretty much. Yep. Thank goodness for that. Horn Camp is the best.
Well, I think that pretty much takes us to the end of our interview. There are so many more questions that I have on the subjects that you have spoken about briefly, but we'll save it for our next 4 or 5 interviews. So
we'll save it for camp. We'll talk to each other in camp and do lots of catching up and having a good time.
Even better idea. Sounds great. Well, thanks again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple months.
Me too.
All right.
Thanks, Jesse.
Take care.
Bye-bye.